Kevin Hamilton, welcome back to the RONJIRU Japan podcast.
Thank you, JayTee.
Very nice to have you back. I didn't think it would be so soon, but I'm always happy to talk with you and shoot the breeze about the various issues that affect us. First and most important, you got a sweet-looking little studio there. Since the last time we spoke, when you mentioned you'd be starting a podcasting aspect to your business, I didn't expect you to get something together so quickly.
Yes, it's amazing what you can do when you're sitting in front of drapes.
With a good mic and a good set of sound equipment.
Yes. And how art thou?
Thou art, ein art. What's the me part of thou? Thou. Whatever. I'm doing okay. It's apocalyptic weather where I am right now. Thunder and lightning. Very, very frightening. Me, mamma mia, mamma mia. Yeah, so you might hear some thunder in the background. Don't worry.
Now you're going to need copyright clearance.
No, I'm not. I screwed up the words deliberately. I'm being smart. Yeah, that's pretty good. How are you keeping in that? What's that?
It's a derivative work.
Yes. RONJIRU original derivative. How are you keeping in this age of crazy viruses and silly lockdowns?
Well, just staying in. This is the last day of Golden Week. We start back work tomorrow. And it's been reasonably nice weather. It rained one day, and two, including today, I guess. But plenty to stay busy at home with, catching up on all the things I've neglected for a long time. Sure enough. It was gorgeous weather yesterday, so I went out to the local park and snapped some photos and things. You'll notice I've been doing some RONJIRU shorts, some little short vids. I saw them, yes.
Yes, I'm getting a good response on some of them and not so good on the others. I need more subscribers, so that's what I'm hoping to. That's sort of my next project is while I'm creating little pieces of content, since I cannot interview people face to face, I've been doing that. I enjoy them. They're fun. It's essentially a monologue, but it's fun to do and gets me out of the house and into some greenery, which is nice. I think they're nice. I wanted to hear more details about you said something before. We had a phone call a few days ago, and you were being chased around by a drone. Tell me that story. Oh yes, so it's strange. So I go out for my walk in the mornings every day, and you're allowed to go out for a walk as long as you socially distance. But I was I went out for a second walk in the afternoon. In the neighborhood, and there's these noisy trucks that go around sometimes too, saying, everyone, you're supposed to stay home and socially distance, and only essential or emergency situations are when you should be leaving your house. So you see those trucks from time to time. We have the Kuyakusho sends they're little cars here. Yeah, they're little car things. Speakers blaring on the top, Sure enough, yeah, just like that. And so I was out walking, and I heard this sort of a little buzz sound, and I thought, what the hell is that? It's not a plane. It's not a car. So I was looking around, and it didn't say anything. I've seen video from the U.S. where the drones have an announcement, like a loudspeaker, and they make announcements to the people walking around, stay home, go home, get off the beach. It didn't say anything, but it was just flying around, and it was it didn't seem to be a hobby drone. It was a little bit bigger. Well, I guess they have big hobby drones too. It might have been a hobby drone, but I assumed it wasn't. And it was flying over kind of a countryside area on the outskirts, and droning, and it followed me for, about a minute, not even a minute, and then just flew off. But I was staring at it. I was looking at it. It's like, I can see you. I'm sure you can see me. But so it just flew around for a minute and then took off. I don't know. Didn't do anything, and I haven't been arrested, so I guess it's okay. Yeah, but you said they sent you something in your mail, or No, I didn't say that. Pinged your phone or something? Oh, I got a thing on the phone, yeah, but I think everybody got that. Oh, you don't think they were connected? I don't believe so, no. Yes, it's very strange times.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just staying in the house. I make some, market runs, to the shops. But I don't linger anywhere. I choose the time of day when there's least likely to be any or many people out. So I go there, get my things, get back home. I don't know. I don't think any of us really know the extent to which, it's a real problem here. We hear rumors and we see the official reports.
Sure.
I do hear a lot of ambulance sirens every single day, way more than I ever did. Or maybe I didn't notice them so much in the past, but I don't think so because, they're so loud. When one comes through the neighborhood or near the neighborhood, of course you can hear it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just, constantly, it seems. Not so much today. I don't know why, unless everybody's staying at home, but I don't know. I mean, supposedly I've heard some reports that...
Sorry about the thunder. I couldn't help it.
Oh, I thought that was your stomach rumbling.
No.
It's getting close to dinner time. Well, there's some reports, I've seen in, in the news reports where they're saying that the medical system is just taxed right now. I do know that elective surgeries are pretty much, off the table now from people that have had to or are having to sit and wait. But at the same time, I don't want to go anywhere near a hospital myself.
No, I hear you.
I don't want to go to a clinic because the clinics near the home here that I would go to, they're always full of old people with nothing better to do anyway. So
yes,
I don't want to sit in there because they won't let you make an appointment. They just make you wait, right?
I want to tell you a funny story about that. It's the same because we live in different parts of the metropolis, obviously. It's the same thing here. There's a clinic not too far away, where I live, and when you go in there, it's full of a lot of very, very old people. And I'm not kidding. I actually heard this conversation. There were these two elderly ladies speaking to each other. I'm making up the names, but, "Oh, Sato-san, haven't seen you for a long time. Hey, have you seen Tanaka-san? She hasn't been here for a while. Do you think she's feeling ill?" As if to say the people who are mingling in the hospital are not ill. They just come there as a place to meet and then have a little chit-chat and complain about their sore knees or whatever. But when I heard that, it actually made me a little bit angry. It's like, because I was in there with, what did I have? Oh, yeah, I had a broken finger. Yeah, so I'm sitting there swelling up, like, this big, gigantic, swollen finger, and there's these people who were there first come, first served, I guess, but they were there for, sore hips, and I was there for busted bone, so I thought I should get priority, but I guess not. Yeah.
You're not a regular,
I guess, yes.
Retail relies on the regulars,
Retail business. So I was going to, I checked it out just before we got on the call. As of March 4th, so that's, 2 days ago now?
Do you mean May the 4th?
May the 4th, yes.
Yes, May the 4th was not with you.
May the 4th, 2 days ago, at noon, 12 noon. These are the official government figures put out by the Ministry of Health, Welfare, and Labor. Health, Labor, and Welfare. Confirmed cases in Japan of coronavirus, 15,057. That's up by 200 over the previous day. Out of those, hospitalized people are 11,968. That's an increase of 81 over the previous day. And a number of dead. This is the figure that's very curious for me because it comes with many asterisks and lots of fine print at the bottom of the file. It's on their website. It's up publicly. They do it every other day, I think they update it. Number of dead in all of Japan. This does not include that ship, that Princess Cruiser, whatever, Diamond Princess? Yeah, Diamond Princess. Yes. It doesn't include those figures. Number of dead, 510, which is up 18 from the previous day. In all the other countries around the world who list their figures, the percentages are way higher. Something's weird, huh? Or maybe
I don't know. I don't know. All I can do is keep myself removed from other people.
That's what I'm doing too. Except in the park. There's always kids playing in the park. It's nice to hear kids running around and screaming and laughing. That's nice, but sorry about the thunder.
Oh, man, you need to do something about that.
Wow. That's setting my meter into peak. Anyways. So you heard the day before yesterday, the Prime Minister has extended the what do they call that? Kinkyu jotai. State of emergency. For until the end of May. I guess that means you're going to be spending a lot of time in front of those curtains.
Well, maybe. I guess so. But even when they lift it, I'm not going to be the first to rush into town and grab a drink,
No, me neither. Makes me wonder what's going to happen.
Right here.
You got working on one now. I got my trusty water. But it makes me wonder what's going to happen to air travel.
I know I saw a report on the BBC today where poor Richard Branson, he'll be bankrupt any minute now. It's like he needs a government bailout because there's no point in using his own billions to save his own company. I mean,
right.
The government's supposed to do that.
Sure. Also,
do we even need the Virgin Airlines? I mean, what's the big deal? There are other airlines.
Other airlines are available, yes. But it's funny, the people who have a bit of a expectation for a handout. I want the small businesses, the mom and pop shops, the restaurants, the small boutique clothing stores, even not even boutique, but just small clothing stores, bookstores, things like that. I want those people to have a bit of a hand from the government. Large companies aren't going to go bankrupt from not having any profits for a while. They'll just have angry shareholders. But the small companies, they're dead. I mean, if they don't have income, they're dead, especially restaurants.
That's right.
Profit margins at restaurants are like 3% or something. It's minimal. It's skimming the skim of the top, and they're just barely making it.
I agree with you. There, two things would make the most sense. One is what you just said, make sure that the smaller businesses are fine.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is just the individuals. If you divide the number of people from the amount of money they want to, throw out, if you give the money to small businesses and individuals, they will spend it immediately. If you give it to the larger companies that, have other means of support, they'll just offshore it or squander it right?
Offshore it or squander it, exactly. I think this whole pandemic thing has, perhaps, one can hope, has shed some light on the folly of the way that business is normally done, especially big business, but just business in general, and that includes the way that taxation is run, etc., with the quarterly earnings thing. Each quarter has to be higher than the quarter before, the sort of built-in requirement for growth, and then doing everything by quarters, and it's sort of skin of your teeth by quarters, And I think that's not the right way to do business anymore. I think we've learned that. I hope we've learned that lesson. There does need to be a little bit of a pot, a little bit of a, not savings, but some sort of resources to draw upon for times like these. And that obviously has to come from somewhere. And obviously it's going to come from profits, and you stick it away and hide it away in a cash safe or something like that. And I think that should be what the learning is from this, because it's just not tenable the way that we've been doing business. And as always seems to be the case when something bad happens, it hits the little guys first, and the big guys kind of come out, they brush the dust off, and then off they go, business as usual. No lessons learned, and, hundreds of thousands of people out of work. It's just not the right way to do things, and I hope that we've learned that lesson.
Well, I think that, whether that's a lesson or not, that realization has come to many people, but it's also being ignored by the people, who have who have the wherewithal and the means to do something about it. Two things come to mind. One, you and I have had this discussion before about this stupid just-in-time system,
Yes.
that was required to be put in place by Toyota just because of the tax system, right?
Yes.
Of
Tax
course,
on
everybody,
inventory is huge.
and of course that worked, from a financial standpoint, in the capitalist context. But that's the reason, and the same thing in the States as well. There's no incentive to prepare for, something like this that might happen sometime down the road, right? That's one. The second is globalization. I think the reason globalization itself, if this virus and, the promulgation of it can be laid at the doorstep of any entity or idea that's at fault, it is globalization, right? You understand what I mean?
I know what you mean. When the world is entirely connected and people are moving all over the place all the time, and there is no more sort of local, and you can attribute local to meaning communities or countries or regions or whatever, when all of those are sort of all tied into one gigantic system, all it takes is one little cog in the machine and the whole system goes down. I think that's what you're trying to say.
It is.
Yeah. Oop, here we go again.
Sounds
all this
good.
apocalyptic talk is making the gods angry.
Or the gods of capitalism, right?
Gods of capitalism, yes. Japan is doing a very unusual thing. Oh, before I go there, did you see, this was weeks ago now, the Prime Minister said that they will distribute 2 cloth masks, reusable cloth masks, to every household in Japan. Did you receive yours?
No.
I didn't receive mine either. Do you know why? I found out why. It was on the news about a week after that.
No.
They got their first shipment in, and they found that I can't say this with a straight face. They got their shipment in, and they were contaminated with mold. So they had to send them back and start over.
From where?
I don't know who's making them. I don't know.
China, probably, right?
It's possible. It is possible.
The Japanese have lost the ability to manufacture masks.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
I don't know if they ever even had it, to be honest, because, when I talk to, elder Japanese people, they just laugh and say, that's something my mother always made for me when we were growing up. My mother always sewed the masks.
Mm-hmm. Well, cloth masks are cool because you can wash them. So you get one that's a nice pattern that you like, and yeah, a nice pattern, or you can put like a Harley Davidson on there if you want or whatever. But you can keep reusing it after you wash it. So that's it's ecological as well. I walk around now, and there's those disposable masks. They're just thrown all over the place. A bunch of pigs, whoever threw those out.
I see that.
There's garbage cans all over the place, dude. Use it.
I know it. It. It's irritating you.
Littering really bothers me. Mm-hmm. It really bothers me. I mean, a lot of things bother me. I have a pet peeve list as long as my arm, but...
Yeah. And cigarette butts is the worst form of litter as far as I'm concerned.
Well, any form of litter, really. I mean, it's just slobby. A bunch of slobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Yeah. But in general, it's not a huge problem in Japan because, people are just tidy, by nature, I think.
It's a huge problem in Tokyo.
Well, I haven't been there in a while, so I wouldn't know. But in my neighborhood, probably yours too. There's the peer pressure and the chonaikai.
Yes.
You're expected to, keep the street in front of your house swept tidily.
Mm-hmm. Something that I need to do when the rain stops. Got maybe some grass and weeds pulling up. Huh?
Yeah, maybe the rain will wash it away for you.
I hope so. Yes, along with the rest of my street. So you're hanging in there at home. How are preparations for your podcast coming, other than the gear and the setting that you've got set up?
All right, that's the. Right now I'm just in the tutorial and working out latency issues with trying to connect gear, through a computer. I'm old school when it comes to audio. just machines that you twiddle knobs and ride faders and inputs and outputs and plug this and plug that. But all this software stuff, there's just a million things that not can go wrong, do go wrong.
Do go wrong, exactly. I've been jerry-rigging a little bit since I can't do face-to-face interviews for the at least foreseeable future. I've been trying to jerry-rig what I do have here to work with my computer and run things through my sound recorders and all those things. I'm not a sound engineer, so I really do need a sound engineer to come in and hook it all up and make it work, because some things work and then they don't. Some things work very well and then they don't suddenly for no reason. Didn't change anything. They just don't. Or every time you reboot, something goes wrong.
Or just some setting switches without on its own.
Yes. Happens with Skype sometimes too.
Don't get me started on that.
What's that? No, got a comment on
Don't get me
that?
started on that.
Yeah. Right on. So I want to talk about one thing that I've been really impressed with. I don't know how much news you watch, Japanese news, but one thing I've been really impressed with over the past, well, I guess month really, since everything got really hot and heavy with this virus, is the governor of Tokyo, Koike Yuriko.
Mm-hmm.
She is an amazing woman. I'm very impressed with her.
Yeah, she's impressive, yes.
She's an impressive, she's also quite scary. I bet she takes no shit from anybody, ever.
It's quite clear.
Yeah. So one of the things that impresses me, I mean, she used to be a television announcer, so she's quite used to the press. She knows how to present herself on TV, and God, does she ever do it. She's great.
She's international. She's multilingual.
Yes, she is. Yes, her English is very, very good. But she doesn't talk in gobbledygook. She says, these are the problems that we're facing. These are the numbers. We are going to do this. And here's what you must do. And she lays it all out. It's very easy to understand, unambiguous as can be. I'm really impressed with her. For a politician, she's down to earth.
Well, there's one thing she cannot do. She cannot make pachinko parlors close or people stop from lining up all the way around the block to get in and spread their germs on each other.
That's very funny, because pachinko parlors are not a non-essential service or non-essential business, and they are part of the the request to stop business, to close during the period of this state of emergency. But they're not doing it. Or some of them are, but some of them are not. And so, because everywhere else is closed, the people from who normally go to a different established pachinko place, they're going into the ones that are open, and the lineups are huge.
Yeah, they're leaving Tokyo, going up to Ibaraki because there's some open up there, and it's just defeats the whole purpose. Also,
golf courses, which I found kind of interesting. Golf courses they're outside and they're open, so I get that. And you would think if you go alone, social distancing is fine, but they go with their mates. And so you got a bunch of people, 6 or 8 guys, well, about 6, I guess. And they're all golfing together, and they're all, laughing and talking and hugging and slapping and high-fiving. And it's like, okay, but you realize that while the rest of us are forced into these unfortunate circumstances where we can't even shake hands anymore, here's you guys breaking the rules and going off and doing that. Now, I understand you're outside and all of that, but what if one of you has it and then all 6 of you bring it home?
Yeah, well, it's more than that because, think about how important the 19th hole is to golfers. Mm-hmm. You know what that means, right?
The 19th,
the 19th hole is you gather and you drink afterwards, right?
Oh, yes, that's the 19th hole, is it? The drinking hole afterwards, I see.
Yeah. And that's where the real infections are going to happen, I think. But, they have those whether it's practice ranges where people practice their swings. Those are just packed. Yes. We got lots of them in my neighborhood. They're just packed.
There's one that's not too far away from here on the way to our closest supermarket. Mm-hmm. And it is, it's packed.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
I don't get it. But, golf is one thing, but the pachinko is the one that gets me the most because it's, you're confined in a very cramped, place with lots of other people, and they're touching those machines and, you know, coughing on those machines, and, you know, they're fondling those balls.
Well, as one likes to do, right?
Yeah. Have you ever done pachinko?
Yes, once. I didn't know what I was doing, but also it was not something I enjoyed. I find the place is too smoky, and even more than the smoke, the sound. It is the most noisy, jangling racket that I have ever experienced in all of my years on planet Earth.
Yeah, and that's threshold of pain level, you know, volume levels.
Well, you've got steel balls falling into plastic trays, and there's about 400 machines, plus, and that's like a huge god-awful racket, right? But on top of that, to drown out the sound of the balls falling into plastic and all of the machines going ting, 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 bing, 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 like a casino, you've got that blaring music that drowns it all out.
Yeah, and announcements.
And announcements which drown out the music. So when I walked out of the pachinko parlor that I was in, the one time I went, I walked out of there and my ears were ringing for hours.
Yeah.
That's like severe hearing loss.
Yeah.
And yet people sit there with a cigarette hanging out of their mouth and they just do this for hours and hours and hours.
I'd rather be on the front row of an AC/DC concert.
Right.
Then at least you're entertained.
Yes, yes.
But somebody said once, and, you know, it's one of those things that you hear, and you might understand this more than I actually do. They said, if you can understand pachinko, then you can understand the Japanese.
Japanese men, maybe.
Well, a lot of women do it as well.
They're older women, though.
Well, they're still women, aren't they?
I know that. But Japanese young men, from young to old, do pachinko, but only older Japanese women do pachinko. I've never seen a young lady in there.
Okay.
Well, I never go inside,
that's fine.
But...
All right, that's fine. But, you know, how do you explain, what does that mean to you? You know, to understand, if you understand pachinko, you can understand the Japanese. I mean, what does that imply to you? Doesn't imply anything to me, because it's inexplicable.
It implies to me that the person who said it is a diehard pachinko fan and will not take any criticism or comments about it.
They were Dutch.
Oh, really? Well, that explains everything. It's a Dutch person who loves pachinko and will not have any criticism or questions leveled against it.
I don't know about that so much as it's just a Dutch person trying to sound profound.
I guess so. I don't think that means anything.
In a confounding way.
What's that?
Confoundingly profound.
Profound, yes. So I'm sure they'll lock up the pachinko parlors sometime soon. I got to say, though, I am liking this, what they call telework here. Overseas, or in English, I think we call it telecommuting or work from home. I like this telework thing because I don't have to go onto those god-awful crowded trains full of coughing, sneezing, smelly, sweaty people with those lovely gentlemen with their white gloves pushing me onto the subway car.
Yeah.
And the non-stop announcements and bells and whistles for when the doors are closing and all that. I will not miss that at all for the whole rest of this month. Not a bit.
I don't blame you. When that bothered me the most, leading up to us deciding to, you know, require everyone in the office to work at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was it, because there were incidents that were occurring on the train at the beginning. Remember, you know, somebody coughs and they throw the emergency brakes, or they calling, you know, the police. Somebody coughed in my train car. I mean, it was pretty crazy. But at the same time, that was at the very beginning. And then, of course, there was, once people sort of got used to that, then they started ignoring it and coming back out in droves. And I think that's maybe where we're about now, because they declared the national emergency a few weeks ago. And again, people tightened up. Yeah, it's roughly 30 days ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's this contraction, people like hunkering down, and then just steadily they just come back out again. So I think maybe it's part of the psychology of this country. They just have to declare some new emergency every few weeks to get people to start paying attention again and stop being irresponsible.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I know, but up here where, on the north side of the city, but there's I've never seen so many people out. I mean, from before the whole COVID thing came up, people, would walk around, etc. But I have never seen so many people walking around everywhere. Sidewalks are packed. The parks are packed. The roads are jammed with cars. It's like, where was the rush hour?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's those drones when you need them?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the same, I read the same accounts, either through Facebook or, comments on an article or something. Other foreign people who live here, they say the same things. Like, I live right next to a park, and and they all gather and they're eating lunch together and they're not wearing masks and they're all old people.
Mm-hmm.
And I read one comment the other day. The general attitude is like, hey, I'm old. If I get it, I'm going to die anyway, so I'm just going to enjoy every moment, just in case I might get it.
Sure.
There's some logic to that.
I guess so.
Selfish logic, but there's logic there.
I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube from doctors in New York City hospitals. New York was, of course, hit the hardest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who said that they have never seen anything like this. It's sort of a whole new paradigm that they need to think about, is some of the things they were saying. And there were 5 doctors who said that. Of course, other doctors don't really come on YouTube and say things.
I've decided that I'm not, since I don't know, I'm not going to speculate.
Mm-hmm.
On my Facebook feed and other things I see on the web, and I do limit my intake of news and information to just the essentials of what's going around me. What's going on around me is the most important thing here to me.
Right.
But, people are saying it's a hoax or it's this or it's that, but I want those people to go volunteer to help in the hospitals and to stack the bodies and to dig the mass graves. And then I want to hear what they have to say. I don't want to hear what anybody has to say who's just sitting in front of their computer at home with access to the same information that I have access to.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't know what's true and what's not true. Do we?
No.
Not at all.
Nobody seems to know.
I have
all of the experts with the same credentials, various experts who all have the same credentials are giving conflicting information, which leads me to believe nobody really knows what the hell's going on. And I believe there should be some consensus before people start announcing things.
Yes, and I hate to see it, and I've actually been limiting my intake of Facebook. I kind of check in maybe a couple of times a week, because you've got people with nothing else to do, and like they're retweeting or they're putting links up to stuff that is just could be it's impulse. It's impulse. Oh, why are people sharing something that just has a 50-50 chance of being true or not? Or maybe not even that much of a. It doesn't even have that much of a percentage of being true. Probably.
I guess not. Have you been reading anything lately that's caught your attention? I don't mean news. I mean like a book.
No. In my spare time, I like to watch documentaries. So documentaries about people specifically. I like basketball, so I like to dig in and watch the old footage from 30, 40 years ago. It's fun for me to watch. And I'm not really a sports fan per se, so I'm not missing out on anything by sports events not being held right now. I'm using the time. I'm coming up with new work ideas or trying to come up with ways to leverage the fact that we're all sort of sitting in. It's like coming up with ideas with this work. Podcast is one thing, but I don't expect to make any money if I do a podcast. At the same time, I'm fearful of committing to doing a podcast and then putting one out, and then 6 weeks later putting another one. If if a big pile of work just falls on me, which, in our business can happen anytime, you can go for several days or a couple of weeks with like, where's the next paycheck coming from? Then all of a sudden, boom, you've got way more than you can handle, and it takes a while to bail yourself out of it. So there's that dichotomy, that balance that has to be struck there.
Sure.
But yeah, I always like learning new things. So in gear, I have a gear fetish, as many men do, I guess. So yeah, I like learning about new things. Oh well, I'm being summoned for dinner.
Oh, okay. Summoned for dinner. All right. Well, it's great to talk with you. We should do these sort of like, what do you call it? I guess you could just call this a quick chat, a quick conversation, a catch up, a follow up.
Let's do it.
Yeah, always love to talk with you.
All right.
Thank you. You stay safe, sir.
Thank you, and you as well.
Yes. All right. This is great.
All right.
We'll talk with you probably next month.
Yes.
All right.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, sir. Thanks for listening to this conversation on RONJIRU Japan. If you found this interesting and want to learn more, check out www.ronjirujapan.com. That's www.ronjirujapan.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and to our YouTube channel, where you can also find a variety of short videos in addition to regular episodes. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and please share with all of your friends, because Japan is a fascinating place and I really want to grow the channel. From RONJIRU Japan, I've been JayTee. Take care, everyone.